We saw Anthony Albanese there being talked up as a test for Labor. Is it the government's policy or a test for Labor? Doesn't matter. We've got to see whether or not they're going to come into play. One of them, Tanvir, is the idea of drug testing for welfare recipients. Now, it seems Labor has always opposed this. They've opposed this in the past. Why is it a good idea?
Well, look, it's a challenging idea, and one that's already being done in parts of the United States. It has been trialled in New Zealand. I guess the key criticism is, A, is it humiliating? 2, it doesn't work. And part of the theory is that addiction is entirely a health problem. That's not entirely true. Addiction is not like pneumonia. People often quit just of their own accord. And already in the court system, we have drug courts where people don't go to jail if they do a treatment plan. And then if they use drugs, they might end up in jail again. So that's an example. Contingency is a part of addiction. Like, people... it's one way to think about addiction is there's a special kind of voluntary activity. And when you have a set of motivations that override your desire to use, that's when people can potentially shift. So I think it has potential usefulness in shift. It won't work for everyone, but there will be a set of people who weren't thinking about treatment that may think about treatment if they can't get access to the money. It goes straight to a cashless debit card. But I think the broader principle of mutual obligation in welfare is sound. And the Prime Minister said today, look, as a community, we're happy to support people on welfare. But if they're spending it on drugs and gambling, etc., then I think it's reasonable to say, well, we're happy to keep supporting you, but you've got to show you're getting treatment for this.
Yeah, and it depends how you implement it. The idea of
there'll be challenges.
Everyone, I mean, imagine this is something, an option you might have, whereas Labor are already talking about it as something that would be a blanket a condition, I suppose, for welfare recipients. Let's have a look at what Tony Burke had to say today.
The people who Scott Morrison is talking about are the people who've worked their lives, lost their jobs, and he now wants them to humiliate themselves, walking into the office, having to urinate into a cup, having pieces of their hair plucked out, having to spit into a jar. And all of this for what? Because he thinks it's a clever political battle with Labor.
There you go, Tony Burke today. Jane, this is a pretty divisive issue. Surely the idea wouldn't be to test everybody. Surely this would be a tool. Is it worth exploring, or is it just too onerous, too humiliating, as Tony Burke says?
Look, it might be onerous. I don't know how humiliating it would be. I think it is worth exploring. Funnily enough, talked about it on the air today and didn't get a lot of thumbs up for it. I think the government will need to explain it and explore it better. I was also talking to a friend of mine who works with women who are really impoverished, and she had some reservations and concerns about it. But, Chris, we need to at least flesh this out and see what it would look like. Now, if it's just going to be window dressing and it's going to be expensive to implement, then no. But show us the detail. Let's have a good, robust discussion about it and come back to all of us when you present the detail, how it will work, what it will look like, how much it will cost. And I'm with Tanvir, like, it won't work for everyone. So give us some estimation of how many it will work for. I'm open to looking at the detail.
Stephen Conroy, there's always this contest between policy and politics. I always think good policy is good politics. Is this more about policy or politics?
I think this is another clever ploy by Scott Morrison. In the week where the economy almost tanked into negative growth, he's pulled the hoary old chestnut out of let's, find a new way to beat up on the welfare recipients as a complete distraction. I mean, I think Jane just described some of the experts who have concerns about this. The AMA have opposed this. Most of the welfare groups who are usually very responsible about some of these issues, they don't support this. This is just a brilliant distraction to literally take focus off the fact that government are running the economy into the ground.
Well, we'll come back to the economy in a moment. What do you think of Jackie Lambie's idea that it'll be OK as long as politicians had to be drug tested too?
Look, as I think you know, Chris, I've been a teetotaler my whole life for no significant reason other than I don't really like the taste of alcohol. But while I think it sounds great to put that forward as a bargaining chip, I mean, if she keeps playing her cards, the way she has been, and really as a South Australian complaining about one state getting preferential treatment. Can I mention the entire auto sector or the entire defence sector at any point? I didn't notice you objecting to Christopher Pyne and the team.
I voted with my feet. I voted with my feet, Stephen. I moved to New South Wales. I wasn't going to be part of any mendicant operation.
Chris, one thing I'd come in there.
But look, Jackie is playing her cards well. She's got limited relevance, but she is playing her cards very well. I mean, I think she's learnt from her first period in government, and I think she's modelling herself very much on the Brian Harradine approach, and he was one of Tasmania's most ever successful senators when he had an opportunity. He squeezed the rest of Australia for an outrageous number of programs and initiatives inside Tasmania. I think Jackie's learnt from that very substantially.
No doubt it's a political winner for her, which is why I kind of confess to my naivety about thinking politics would operate any differently. But I hate this horse trading where the two issues don't really have any direct link.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, she clearly can play the game. One thing I'd challenge Stephen on, I don't think it's just a stunt. There is a growing underclass linked to mental health and substance abuse. In the last 5 years, the number of people who cannot look for work due to illicit drug use has almost doubled. So I don't think it's just a stunt, and at least looking for alternatives or schemes to try and at least intervene there, I don't think is a terrible thing.
Well, the point, the issue was put up before. They put up the bill before, Stephen. I mean, what they've done now is just return to it. It's stunt both times.
Look, that was a very valid point. I mean, the positive in this initiative, if there is a positive, is a commitment to put more money into rehabilitation services. But you don't need the rest of it to do that. You should be funding more of that. So if you want to tackle the drug use issue, then put more money into the rehabilitation services that we've just talked about. You don't need to tie it like this. Just do it for the right reasons.